Joining us now, great friend of the show, Independent Women's Forum fellow Dr. Qanta Ahmed. Qanta, great to see you as always. Let's jump straight into it. What is happening in Syria?
An atrocious betrayal by the United States. It's abandoned the Syrian Democratic Forces, allowed Turkey full carte blanche, and Ahmed al-Shara's Islamist forces are now surrounding Kobani. That was the graveyard of ISIS. There are 500,000 minorities there, Kurds, Yazidis, Christians, surrounded by troops, and the world is not blinking an eye. We're probably going to see something of the scale of a Srebrenica genocide if we don't intervene. And somehow the United States thinks Ahmed al-Shara's forces are the best partners to contain ISIS, while ISIS prisoners have been released and the al-Hol camp has also been breached, home of the ISIS wives and children.
James.
Qanta, just give us a bit more background on this conflict that's going on in Syria, because I think maybe some of our viewers aren't quite across all of the players here. And how does this tie into ultimately what needs to happen, which is pressure to be exerted to finally force the mullahs in Tehran, who have spread terrorism since 1979 across the globe, to get them out of Iran?
Well, we've seen that Ahmed al-Shara's Syria has committed genocide against the Druze, genocide against the Alawites, and now is in process of committing a genocide against the Kurds. They were protected by the Kurdish military in the north of the country, which was backed by the US and fought the ISIS for about 10 years. The US has decided in a deal it made with France and Turkey, quite honestly, to abandon them after all of their sacrifices, and to hell with the minorities. It's really the most ignominious moment since we bungled our way out of Afghanistan in that terrible disaster several years ago. What it means for Iran is the strike is imminent. I believe it's a few days away. We're having a very long storm here in the United States. A lot of businesses are closed. Who knows, maybe it's this weekend. And we're going to take out the structures of the Iranian regime, the besiege, maybe their drone operations, and Iran, the Iranian people, will overthrow that regime. And I think then the United States is going to pull out of the region tremendously. They're already recognizing al-Shara Syria can't take care of the ISIS elements. They're shipping many of them to Iraq as we speak, and after that, the US is out of Syria. So there's a huge change in the region.
Rita.
So you genuinely think that the Iranian regime is on its last legs because they have cracked down hard again on this protests? We are seeing just the most shocking footage come out of Iran of young girls being slaughtered on the streets trying to run away from security forces. Do you see that uprising is going to continue despite the numbers that have been slaughtered?
I think the scale of the killing, Rita, tells me that that is a zombie regime. There's no question. They've murdered tens of thousands, wounded 330,000. People are losing their eyes, maybe using chemical weapons, military artillery. That regime is on its last legs. And the West and United States will tip it out of power. Maybe it will be replaced by a secular military, and then the Iranian people, the opposition is in prison. There is the crown prince in the West who may be a transitional figure. They need to then take over that enormous country. But to come back, we cannot abandon the Kurds. They're not only our allies, they share our values. We can't see ISIS extremists on the loose in Syria again perpetrating a Yazidi genocide. The American policy cannot be to finish what ISIS couldn't. They wanted to erase these minorities, to finish what Assad couldn't, which wanted to erase so many of Syria's beautiful pluralism. That's the crisis that the world has to focus on. And we cannot let Kobani fall to the ISIS jihadists.
James.
Well, Qanta, I hear what you're saying about Syria. I mean, I've traveled to Syria in the mid-1990s, and I know exactly the sort of pluralism that you're talking about and how that was protected essentially by the Assad regime. But back to Iran, I'm really concerned about what comes next because you've got these different groups. You've got the MEK, which seems like some terrible fusion of Marxism and Islamism as one potential option here. I know they've been lobbying very hard in Washington at the moment. I've seen some figures coming out, even in the conservative circles, supporting them. Are you concerned that you're going to lose the mullahs, which would be fantastic for the world, but wind up with something governing this country because it's not just people in the city, it's people in the country. It's a big population, and I can't imagine that, they're all on the same page about what comes next.
There is a huge risk, and that's why it's a tremendous gamble. President Trump can't afford just a cosmetic strike because he will lose so much credibility globally, and he owes it to the Iranian people for whom he's been one beacon of hope. Second, the number of mosques. Tehran itself reported a week ago 350 mosques were set fire by the Iranian people. They have had it with theocracy. They are, whether most of them are Muslim, most of them are Shia Muslim, they don't want religion forced on them in this totalitarian manner. So that is hopeful. If the West can help them, this new Iran could become pro-Western. And the overarching goal is to denuclearize Iran. That is going to happen. The mullahs are toast. And now what happens next is up to the Iranians, but it could be more supercharged and chaotic than the Syrian civil war. It's a huge country.
And Qanta, no shortage of topics to talk to you about, but Gaza. What's the latest that's happening in Gaza and the idea of a board of peace? Tell us what's happening there.
So we saw this very glitzy presentation in Davos with the Board of Peace. Lots of great ideas. The Gazan people do deserve to live in dignity. They do deserve to live free of Hamas. I'm very concerned there is a huge presence of Turkey and Qatar in all of this decision making. Yes, countries will have to sign up to commit $1 billion of investment if they're going to have decision making. There's tons of rubble that has to be removed. But there's already machinations about Hamas not being disarmed. That is a non-negotiable. We cannot create an Islamist empowered government of any remnant with Hamas in Gaza. That will be no future for the Palestinians and intolerant for the Israelis. The events in Syria, north of Israel, only reinforce the importance of containing any Islamist elements. And if we look a bit further, let's say Iran falls. Let's say these minorities in Syria are not addressed. Turkey is now going to have enormous influence from Turkey over the Levant, over Syria. It already has a huge capture of the market and economy in Iraq. And it could also be having an influence on the new Iran. So this is a tremendous tension between world powers.